In this video, I will go over how my E55 has been doing and discuss repairing the broken AirMatic air suspension system. So the car has about 79,000 kilometers and is almost 17 years old, and the front suspension finally gave out. After coming back to the car one day, I found that the right front corner was very low to the ground. After starting the car, it would raise slightly but then go back down, and you could hear the air pump working. Luckily, I was less than 10 minutes from home, so I slowly drove the car back. I did not see any "stop car too low" messages on the screen. Once back in the garage, I scanned the car and checked the pressure on the front right corner, and indeed, it was at 0, while the rest of the system was working fine. Then I had to order struts, and I bought the R0 AS2300 and 2301. These are remanufactured units using original cores. I chose these over the new struts from R0 because they remove the active dampers in the new version. I am replacing both front struts because replacement in pairs is recommended. Once I received the struts, I jacked the car up and removed the wheels. I started by disconnecting the electrical plugs and removed the air lines with a 10mm wrench. Then I removed the 3 nuts holding the struts with a 13mm socket. In the wheel well, I unscrewed the 16mm nut and pressed out the upper ball joint. Then I removed the front fender liner with 8mm and 10mm sockets and disconnected the electrical connector for the active dampers. Then I removed the 21mm nut holding the strut to the control arm and held the bolt with a wrench. Finally, to remove the strut, you push down on the control arm to get a bit more clearance and pull sideways and downwards to remove. Here is the new strut compared to the original unit. Installation is in reverse order. I torqued the bottom bolt on the strut to 120 foot-pounds of torque. I torqued the strut mounts to 22 foot-pounds. Finally, I torqued the upper ball joint to 15 foot-pounds and then turned it 90 degrees. R0 uses new fittings for the new struts, and I followed their instructions to remove the old fitting from the airline. I also connected the electrical plug from the strut and installed the fender liner. I then filled the air struts to 5.5 bar of pressure. Finally, I attached the wheels and lowered the car back onto the ground and torqued the wheel bolts. You can also fill the struts by starting the car while still raised on a floor jack. You do not want to lower the car onto the ground without filling the struts. I then took the car for a test drive and all is well, and I have to say the ride quality is excellent and most likely improved from before. Replacing the air struts was not a difficult job, and I was expecting this repair to come up on the E55 eventually. Air suspension failure after 17 years is to be expected of any car with air suspension. This is not a Mercedes-specific issue. Otherwise, the E55 has been running great. Some of you have been asking how the E55 compares to the CLK63 that I recently purchased. The E55 is not as sporty to drive. The steering is lighter and the brakes are not as good as the CLK. However, the ride quality is excellent in the E55 compared to the CLK, and the E55 has more comfortable seats. The CLK63's M156 engine sounds a lot better. The E55's power is stronger down low for sure because it has 50 more pound-feet of torque, and peak torque is available at just 2600 RPM compared to 5200 RPM in the CLK. The 7-speed transmission in the CLK63 shifts considerably faster than the older 5-speed in the E55. Overall, the actual performance of the two cars is very similar. Car and Driver magazine tested a 12.5-second quarter mile at 116 miles an hour for both the E55 and the CLK63 convertible. Although, from 0 to 150 miles an hour, the CLK63 was a bit quicker, taking only 22 seconds compared to 24 seconds for the E55. Car and Driver says that the E55 is about 120 pounds heavier than the CLK63. Nonetheless, it is great to have the E55 back up and running again after a bit of downtime for the suspension. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and if you want to support the channel, take a look at my store, link is in the description. If you want to see more AMG content, subscribe and tap the bell for more videos like this one.